Hi there and thank you for tuning in. This little flash here was sent to me by Godox authorized dealer Ledwell. They kindly provided me a copy for review, but have had no influence on the content of this video, so it's completely independent. There are several versions of this flash available. This one's particular is for Canon, but you can also get for Nikon, Sony, and so on and so forth. There are links in the description below so you can see all the options available. Also, this one is in silver. You can get a black one as well, I think. It will almost fit in your palm. 126 grams, so it is super light, but it is jam-packed with features. And in this video, I will take you through some of all the things that this flash can do. It's quite impressive. In terms of price, this is August 2025. It will set you back around $75, but be aware that there is this guy in the White House with tariffs and all that, and there may also be transportation costs and other things you need to factor in. So check your prices, your local prices very well before you order your copy. But I think when you consider all the things they have managed to put into this little flash here, the price is more than fair. And that is actually one of the reasons why I originally chose Godox. I find the prices to be very budget friendly and very good value for money in terms of what you get when you look at the features and the functionality. When I first got this copy here from Ledwell, I thought, well, it's just another little tiny flash to sit on top of your camera and help you out. But actually, this one surprised me because it is so jam-packed with features that I don't think you can compare it to many of other small flashes you can get. And I will take you, as I said, take you through all the stuff it will do. But just be aware that you may actually be fooled just by the size of it. It is really a flash filled with features. Back in the days when you had lots of real estate, you had all this space for buttons and dials and so on and so forth. On a small flash like this, that is not possible. And I think this is an example where technology actually helps us cover new ground, because what Godox has done is they have added a touch-sensitive LCD here on the back of the flash, and via that you can control a lot of the things that you used to control via buttons and dials. And this is, I think, a major change, and one of the reasons why it has been possible for Godox to cram so much functionality into this tiny flash, simply because they don't need the real estate anymore. The rear menu or touch sensitive screen here has taken over, and it works really well. It is like operating your phone, and you can swipe up and down. I will show you this in an overhead production that it's much easier to show. As this one is made for Canon, you can see the contacts down here are specific for Canon, and here I can push a little button on the side, and that will move this pin up and down so that I can mount it on the camera. The instruction says it's very important that the flash is turned off when you mount it on the camera, but otherwise it's just to push the button and then basically slide it in position and release the button. And that's it. And you can see now it sits here on the Canon camera. There is a little rubber piece out here. I would think for other models that it would support the flash to some extent, but here my trusty old EOS 5D Mark III, it really doesn't serve a purpose here. As I mentioned here on the right hand side, you have a normal and wide position, and as you can maybe see through the glass here, it moves a little bit of diffusion glass in front of the flash here when you take it to the wide position. Also, if we turn on the menu system here, you can see here when I turn it on, it insists that I have to turn the dial here on the top, and this is a brilliant way of avoiding that you accidentally, when the flash is in your camera bag, that it is turned on without you wanting it to. So a nice little detail there. But what I wanted to show you here is this little symbol up here. You can see when I move to normal position, it disappears and then it reappears. So up here you can see whether wide or normal is engaged. That was the right hand side. The flash itself, there isn't that much to report, I think. On the left hand side you have a sync cord contact here. I'm not sure how many that use that facility anymore, to be quite honest, but really impressive that they managed to squeeze it in there. Right next to that you have the USB-C connection. I cannot underline how much I love USB-C. It's an industry standard, and that means that all the bespoke chargers that I used to have in my drawer, I don't have those anymore. I just have chargers for USB-C. Really, really a good thing that Godox uses USB-C. This one is also used for updating the firmware. Be aware that the firmware is specific for the version that you're using, so you can only use the firmware for Canon for this particular copy of the flash. If you're shooting Nikon, you need to download the Nikon version and so forth. On the bottom, there is, of course, the contacts, and as I showed you, one of the pins here can move in and out to lock the flash. On the top here, we have a big dial that you can use to control the menu system. So it competes a little bit with the touchscreen, so you can use whatever is to your liking. On the other side of the dial here, we have a little photocell, and I'm really impressed, again, that Godox managed to fit this in. The photocell allows you to use this flash as a slave flash, so it will look for another flash and see if it's firing, and then if it does see another flash firing, it will follow suit. And you can set this up in the menu system. If we go into the menu system, there's one here, the blue one here. Whoop. Here you can see I can turn it off, but I can also select S1, meaning that it will fire when it sees another flash firing, or S2, that it will ignore the first flash. Typically when you shoot 3TL, there are two flashes fired, one to measure the light and the other one to take the picture. So in this case, it will know to ignore the first light and then react on the second light. Here in the rear, you have 3 buttons, one to turn the flash on and off. You can also use it to fire the flash. You can see here, when it turns green, I can fire the flash. When it's operating at full throttle here, 1/1, it takes 1.5 seconds roughly to recharge. As you can see, when the light is green, it is ready to fire again. If you turn down, obviously, the volume here, it is ready much faster. It can do, according to the spec sheet, around 560 shots on one charge. And there is, of course, a built-in battery in this one that you charge via USB-C. So no need for AAA or AA batteries. They are all in here. When you're operating the flash, you will typically see a picture like this one. But if you want to go to the menu system, of course, you can hit menu, but you can also just swipe down, and then the menu system here appears. There are 6 items here I can choose between, and this one with 3 lines is where all the details are in. So let's just take them here one by one. The first one is that you lock the flash. So you need to long hold the set button here top right in order to unlock it. Then you have the way the flash operates, and you can see here it is designed to sit on top of your flash. That's the first mode here. The second mode is that it can actually control via radio another flash, or several other flashes actually. And then finally, it can itself be controlled by other flashes. And you can see that sort of the arrows or the graphics here point towards the flash. But for now, I will be using this mode. I will come back to this one again. The configuration of the channels and the ID, that is, as you know from many other flashes, I think, there is a sync option here, and that is to coordinate or look out for other flashes or triggers nearby and exchange channel and ID information. The menu item here with the 3 lines is where you have a lot of details. I will come back to that one. The next one is the sort of the synchronization with the different curtains. So here you have the first curtain synchronization, high-speed synchronization, and then the second curtain synchronization. So first one is probably the one you use most of the time. The second one here is that when you shoot high speed, you can go crazy high in terms of the shutter speed. Normally, you can only do this up until around 1/200th of a second. But if you engage this one, it will actually allow you to go up to 1/8000th of a second. And it will fire several times during one exposure. So it's very taxing for your battery, but know the option is there. The 3 main modes here is TTL, that's the automated mode, where it fires a flash first to read the light, and then secondly fires a flash to take the picture. Then you have manual mode, where you control everything manually. In multi-mode, the flash will fire several times while the shutter is open, so that it will look like you do multiple exposures, but actually it is just one image where the flash has fired maybe 3, 5, 10 times as much as you like. If we dive into the detailed configuration menu here, the 3 lines here, you can see that in here you have the first one is trigger distance, and here you can go to 30 meters or up to 100 meters. It will save you a little bit of battery, and I think also it's a little bit more stable. If your gear is close nearby, I would select the first option here. The center flash, that is when the flash is actually in sending mode and controlling another flash, you can turn off the flash firing itself, and in that case you will turn this one off, and that means you have 2 options. Either this one can fire at the same time as the other flash, or it can stay silent and just control the other flash. As we talked about, the photo cell here is 1, 2, and off, and be aware that the value you select when you then go out again is actually selected. You don't need to press set here in order to do that. TCM is TTL in semi-automatic mode. It will actually read the light and then will switch to manual mode and show you the values. This is very useful if you are new to photography and maybe you're shooting TTL but want to understand better how the camera and the flash measures the light. Standby, I guess, explains itself. Auto off, that is a timer function. And again, be aware that the value you select here is the one that it will set. You don't need to push set, you just need to leave it. Screen standby, again, a timing function. Screen brightness, I guess, is self-explanatory. Language, the same. Factory reset, if you have completely messed up your configuration, you can reset it to the way the factory set it. And then finally, device info. You can go in here and you can see that I'm on a Canon version, and you can see that it is 101. Be aware that the different brand types can have different versions as the newest. So this should currently be the latest for the Canon, whereas if you're shooting Sony, I believe they are currently at 1.06. Just to illustrate the strength of the Godox system, here I have 2 different triggers, and you can see the left is at 1/8 and the right is at 1/16. So you can see which one is triggering, and you can see I can jump back and forth between the 2. No problem at all. But here's the thing, if you look at which camera these triggers are made for, you can see one is made for Nikon and another is made for Canon. And that means that the protocol, as long as you're going wireless with the 2.4x system, then the protocol will support across all platforms. So it's actually only the hot shoe here that is specific and a very few features, but all the rest is exactly the same. So as you can see here, even though I'm using Canon and Nikon to trigger a Canon flash, it works beautifully. And the beauty of this is that if you have invested in a very expensive flash from Godox and you decide to change your camera brand, as long as you have a trigger that will work with your camera, then you don't need the off-camera flash to be of the same brand as your camera. So that's a way of protecting your investment. And this, together with the very reasonable prices, is what years ago won me over to the Godox system. Of course, there are some limitations to a small flash like this, and 2 things I would like to bring out. One is that the reach it has a guide number of 15, and that means it will reach 15 meters at ISO 100. It can light up your subject. So it will only work if you're doing something relatively close to your camera, say portrait photography, flower photography, macro photography, stuff like that. But it will not be able to light up massively. But it will give you much more light than you will find in a built-in flash, that is for sure. But a powerful flash like this one, that it is not. The other thing I would like to bring out is that the size of the flash as a light source is relatively small. So if you're doing portrait photography, you will probably find the light is a bit hard. You can add the diffuser here, go to wide mode, and you can, in addition to that, get a diffuser you can put on top of the flash here. There's a link in the description below. But even if you do all that, I think you will find for some users that the flash is a little bit small, and you may even want to diffuse it a little bit more. adding a piece of paper, a white piece of paper in front of the flash can actually do the job. So don't let this put you off. I just wanted to make you aware that there is this issue with the flash source being relatively small. And even though I said two things, I would just like to add a third thing. If you're shooting with very long lenses, the lens can actually cast a shadow into your frame. And of course you don't want that, so you can get a little extender or that would lift your flash a little bit away from the camera. There's links in the description below for that, but that can mitigate that issue with the unwanted shadow in your frame. Yep, that's it from me. I hope this review was useful and that I have tempted you to get this little flash.